Welcome to South Florida Saltwater Fishing. I'm Heath, and it's Tips and Tricks Thursday. Alright folks, in this episode we're going to go over how to troubleshoot, diagnose, and fix a GARMIN ECHOMAP Plus GPS fish finder combo that will not turn on. We got a power problem. Before we get into this though, if you want to learn more about fishing, grow as an angler, or just see some great and exciting offshore fishing adventures, you can start by hitting the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you won't miss a thing. Alright folks, so like I said, we're going over how to troubleshoot, diagnose, and fix your GARMIN ECHOMAP Plus that will not turn on. This specific unit is the GARMIN ECHOMAP Plus 74CV, but the checks that we're going to do apply with anything. It's basic voltage checks and fuse checks, and then going forward from there to find out if it's actually your module or if it is a power issue. So the other day I was out fishing offshore and everything was working perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden I look at my screen and it cut out. Tried to turn it back on and I still got nothing. So I continued my day because I do have a backup fish finder. Wasn't the end of the world, but this can be a showstopper or put a damper on things if you really rely on it and you're way offshore or you're in an unknown area and you're out your GPS. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to head out to my boat. We're going to do a couple of troubleshooting techniques to find out where our loss of power is coming from and to see if it's actually the GPS itself or if it's a power issue somewhere where we're losing voltage. Alright, so let's get into this. Alright folks, so here we are out on the boat. Again, we're going to be doing some troubleshooting to try and figure out why my GARMIN ECHOMAP Plus GPS fish finder is not working. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you've got your battery engaged. So we'll come here right to where my battery power is and we will turn the battery on. Now we're just going to triple check and make sure that we are still having the same problem. So we're going to take fish finder, snap it into its cradle, and yeah, we got nothing. No power. Okay, so this is obviously a problem. Alright, so we're going to remove it from the cradle. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do to start our troubleshooting process, now that we know we're not getting power to the module, is we're going to check our fuse. That's the first thing you want to check. Fuses blow all the time. So typically, from your wiring harness that leads from your cradle down to your battery, you've got something that looks like this. It's an inline fuse housing. So if you have this on, you simply open it up and there's a fuse inside of it, and you remove it and you check out the little filament that's inside it. If it's good, then you can continue forward checking for voltage loss somewhere. If it's not good, you more than likely have a bad fuse and you replace it and you're good to go. This is my inline fuse housing and I have removed it because I run my wires through a fuse panel. So right here, this bottom fuse is where my GPS fish finder is hooked up to. So what I'll do is I'll pop that fuse out and I'm going to check it. And the little filament is still intact on the inside of it, which means our fuse is good. So the fuse is not the problem here. So we're just going to simply take that and pop that back in and we're good to go. So now that we've checked our fuse, we know the fuse is not the problem, so now we need to start checking for voltage loss. To do this, we're going to need a multimeter. So this is a multimeter. If you've never used one before, you're going to want to figure it out and get comfortable with it. Multimeters run off of two different types of voltage. They run off of DC and AC. Sometimes they will actually say it on the multimeter. If not, you need to understand a couple of little symbols. Right here, you have a V with a couple of dots, and over here you have a V with a wavy line on it, okay? The V with a couple of dots is DC. The V with the wavy line on it is AC. We are checking for DC voltage. What we're going to do is we're going to turn it on. You have numbers here, 220, 200, 600. you want to be higher than the voltage you're looking for. A battery is 12 volts, therefore we need to go to 20 volts. So we turn it on and we're good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the negative from the meter and we're going to stick it here and touch the negative terminal of the battery. Then we're going to touch the positive terminal with the positive. Now, you see over here, we're reading 12.79 volts, which is good. That means we have a healthy battery. So obviously the battery is not an issue. A healthy battery usually has more than 12.6 volts. Now, a little tip. The Garmin ECHOMAPs require 12.2 volts to kickstart the module. So if you're running low, you might want to try charging your battery, or if it's way down there, the battery's probably on its way out and you might want to consider replacing it. All right, so now that we've checked our battery and we know that our battery has the proper amount of voltage to kickstart the module, what we're going to do is we're going to go and check our connections right at our fuse panel. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the negative and we're going to touch the negative side of the fuse right there on that screw head, and we're going to touch the positive side of the screw. All right, now that we are touched up, you can see we are getting 12.8 volts to our fuse panel. 12.81, in between 12.78 and 12.8. Okay, so obviously the connection from our battery to our fuse panel is not the problem. All right, so now we're going to come up to the top of the console and we're going to start checking for problems with the cradle. So on a Garmin cradle, you have these little pinholes that connect with the pins that are on the back side of your module. The very last two holes over here are where your power comes from. So the one that would be on the top is going to be your negative, and the one that will be on the bottom will be your positive. So you don't have to worry about getting shocked or nothing. You just stick the negative in there, and then you work the positive in there. And as you can see, I've got 0.02 volts. So this is a problem. The cradle is not producing any voltage to jump start the module. Okay, so obviously we have a problem at our cradle with the pinholes that provide the power to the unit. That's not the end of our checking. It could actually be a problem with the wiring harness that leads from the fuse panel up into the cradle. This is also a manufacturer part, and I'm going to show you how to check the voltage on that right now. All right, so to check for power, what we're going to do is we're going to loosen the tilt locks, and we're going to come here. Back here behind the unit, you have two cables. One is blue, one is red. The blue one is your transducer, the red one is your power. So you unhook the power. All right, and we wiggle it off. And now you're going to see on your power cable, you have 4 little pinholes again that hook into the pins that are inside the receiver. On the jack of your harness, you have a little notch right here, which goes on the bottom of the plug-in receiver on your module. The 2 pins that are off to the right of that are your power, the top being the negative and the bottom being the positive. So what we're going to do, and again, you don't have to worry about getting shocked doing this. You stick in your negative on the top, you stick the positive in on the bottom, and you just hold them there and you let it power up. And again, as you can see right here on my meter reader, I got 12.82 volts from my wiring harness. So that being said, this wiring harness is not the problem. The problem is the cradle. All right, so we've done a little bit of troubleshooting and we figured out that we've got a bad cradle for our unit. So what we need to do is we need to contact Garmin and see what our next steps are so that we can get a replacement and get this bad boy back up and running. Okay, so that is how you troubleshoot and diagnose the problem. Quite obviously, we have a problem where the pinholes on our cradle are. So the next step is to contact Garmin and their service center and see what they can do to help us or offer us some guidance as to how to rectify this problem. All right, folks, so we contacted Garmin. They got back to me within 1 business day. Great customer service. The gentleman who I was speaking to wanted me to do a couple of voltage checks with a voltmeter, like you saw I had already previously done, just to try and actually figure out what my issue was. So he asked for a few pieces of information. He asked me to check the voltage at the unit, which is where the harness connects into the cradle, which I showed you how to do on the 4 little pins. And then he asked me to check the voltage coming out of the pinholes that were actually on the cradle, which I also had already done, so I could relay this message back to him immediately and get the process underway. And then the last thing that he asked for was the serial number, which is located on the back of your unit. This serial number tells them the date of manufacturer, and if you've registered it, it also lets them know what day you purchased the unit. So just to let you know, this GARMIN ECHOMAP Plus that I use was a birthday gift given to me by my father and my grandmother about 1.5 years ago. GARMIN has a factory warranty of 1 year, so my unit was out of warranty. However, GARMIN is an extremely generous company, and lucky us, they sent us a brand new cradle for free. Here it is. Brand new cradle in the box, ready to go. What we're going to do right now is we're going to head back out onto the boat, show you how to reattach this puppy, get that GPS fired back up so we can get this show back on the road. All right, folks, so here we are back out on the boat again. We've got a replacement cradle from GARMIN. Again, exceptional customer service. These guys got back to me within 24 hours, asked me to do a couple of checks, which I had already previously done, so I could get a reply back to them immediately, and they could go, okay, he more than likely has a bad cradle. They were just wanting to ensure that I did not have a bad unit, which is the reason they ask you to do a couple of voltage checks. I'm gonna open this bad boy up. And again, I can't stress how much I have to thank GARMIN. My unit is 4 or 5 months out of warranty, and they sent me this brand new cradle for free. All right, here we go. Brand new cradle. We're good to go. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen the cradle again, remove our power harness from the back, remove our transducer harness. Then we are just going to unscrew the sidearm holders, which let it rotate back and forth. And we're simply going to pop that old one out. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take my brand new one and just repeat that process. I'm going to remove these arms from it. You actually don't even have to remove them totally. You can just loosen them up and pop it right out. There we go. All right. And we're going to pop it right back into place, right where it came out of. And there we go. We're good to go. We're going to come back here. And we're going to lock in our power. Push that cable all the way in. And tighten on the coupling, and then we've got our transducer. Just spin it around till it locks in, push it in, and again tighten that in. Good to go. Now we'll tilt this back and we will just retighten those up. All right, so there we have it. Brand new cradle. Gonna make sure our battery's on. Battery's on. Take our module, plop it in, and it fires up. We have solved the problem. We had a bad cradle. Cannot thank GARMIN enough for their generosity of providing me the new cradle, even though the unit was out of warranty. All right, folks, that about does it for this episode. Hope you had fun, hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned a little bit about how to troubleshoot, diagnose, and fix a GARMIN ECHOMAP Plus that will not turn on. Till next time, South Florida saltwater fishing, going wherever the cool wind takes us.